Where on earth is Gianluca Scamacca? One minute, he was the next big thing in Italian football, the towering, tattooed striker ready to lead a new generation. These days, he is barely in the headlines. He had that big money move to West Ham, which didn't quite work out, then returned to Italy. And let's not forget the national team drama, getting snubbed, getting called up, then getting snubbed again. Still only 26. The question now is, has football already moved past the big man, or is there something we're all missing? That's exactly what we're going into today. The overlooked truth about Gianluca Scamacca. Before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Now, let's get into it. Before he was making headlines for staying up late, gaming on national duty, or lining up in the tunnel for West Ham, Gianluca Scamacca was just another football-loving kid from the tough streets of Fidene, a working-class neighborhood in northern Rome. His journey started at a small local club, Polisportiva delle Vittorie, where he kicked his first ball. But like many young talents trying to make it big, he bounced around between several smaller clubs in and around Rome, searching for the right path to the top. By the time he was 10, Scamacca had earned a spot at Lazio's youth academy. And it was an interesting choice, considering he actually supported their fierce rivals AS Roma. But for a kid with big dreams, getting into a top academy mattered more than club loyalty. Luckily for him, he didn't have to wait too long to wear the colors of his boyhood club. In 2012, Scamacca made the switch to Roma's youth team. And from the moment he stepped onto the pitch, he showed he wasn't just there to make up the numbers. He wasted no time proving himself, standing out not just for his size, but for his unique style of play. Unlike many strikers his height, who rely on physical presence and aerial ability, Scamacca had a flair for the unexpected. He loved making deep runs, attempting outrageous skills, and pulling the trigger from ridiculous distances. By the age of 15, Scamacca was already wearing the Azzurri colors at the youth level, and scouts from all over Europe had their eyes on him. His talent was undeniable, and for many, it seemed like a matter of time before he became Roma's next big star. But then, in January 2015, he shocked everyone. Instead of continuing his rise in Rome, he made a completely unexpected move. He left for PSV Eindhoven. It wasn't just a surprise because he was leaving Roma. It was because very few young Italian players ever left Italy to develop their careers, especially not academy prospects. So why did he go? Well, PSV made an offer too good to turn down. The Dutch club promised Scamacca's family an apartment and a car in Eindhoven, ensuring they'd be comfortable while he focused on football. On top of that, they sent €270,000 to Roma to seal the deal. For a 16-year-old, this was life-changing. One moment, he was Roma's golden boy. The next, he was packing his bags for the Netherlands, ready to start a new chapter in a completely different football culture. At PSV, Scamacca kept developing, sharpening his link-up play and improving his hold-up game in one of the best youth setups in the world. Before long, he earned a promotion to Jong PSV, the club's reserve team competing in the Dutch second division. His debut for Jong PSV came as a substitute for none other than Steven Bergwijn, a future Dutch international. It seemed like everything was going according to plan. He was in a system that nurtured young talent, playing in a league that encouraged technical ability and attacking football. The path to PSV's first team looked clear. But then, early in 2017, an opportunity arose that he simply couldn't ignore. Sassuolo came knocking with an offer, and it hit Scamacca at just the right time. He was struggling with homesickness, missing life in Italy, and Sassuolo presented a perfect solution. The club had built a reputation for turning overlooked Roma Academy players into stars. So much so that it felt like a second home for ex-Giallorossi prospects. On top of that, their manager had a philosophy that prioritized youth development and attacking football. For Scamacca, it was a no-brainer. PSV had given him valuable experience, but his heart was set on returning home. The Dutch club didn't fight too hard to keep him either. After all, they had signed him for just €270,000, and were now flipping him for nearly €4 million profit without playing him a single first-team minute. A win-win for everyone involved. With that, Scamacca was back in Italy, ready to prove himself once again. Back in Italy, Scamacca wasted no time making an impact. He slotted into Sassuolo's reserve side and quickly showed why the club had brought him back, scoring 11 goal contributions in just 20 games. His performances didn't go unnoticed, and by late 2017, he had earned his first call-up to the senior team. It didn't take long for him to get a taste of Serie A football. That season, he made 3 brief appearances off the bench, experiencing the top flight for the first time. But for a young striker hungry to prove himself, that wasn't enough. He needed regular minutes, and Sassuolo knew he wasn't quite ready to lead the line for them just yet. For most young footballers, the road to the top is rarely a straight line. For Gianluca Scamacca, it felt more like a roller coaster, full of unexpected turns, frustrating setbacks, and moments that could have derailed his career entirely. After returning from his loan spell at Cremonese, Scamacca hoped to break into Sassuolo's first team. But the club wasn't convinced he was ready. Instead of keeping him in Serie A, they sent him back to the Netherlands for the 2018-19 season, this time on loan to PEC Zwolle. The move was orchestrated by the super agent Mino Raiola. It seemed like a smart step. Dutch football was known for developing technical strikers, and Zwolle offered a chance to play regular first-team football. But from the very start, things went south. On the pitch, Scamacca struggled, failing to register a single goal or assist in his first 8 games. Just as he was trying to find his rhythm, disaster struck. He suffered a serious knee injury in late November, cutting his season short. Off the pitch, things were even worse. The FIGC launched an investigation into Raiola's dealings and found that he had approached Scamacca before his contract with his previous agent had expired. This was a violation of FIFA regulations, and as a result, Raiola was suspended. At just 20 years old, Scamacca was caught in the middle of a major football scandal, one he had no control over. It was a brutal reality check. He cut ties with Raiola, terminated his loan at Zwolle, and returned to Sassuolo. Back in Italy, he was placed in the Primavera youth squad, where he quickly rediscovered his scoring touch, netting 4 goals in just 5 games. But despite his form, there was still no clear pathway to the first team. That meant another loan spell. But this time, he stayed in Italy. He joined Serie B side Ascoli for the 2019-20 season, and for the first time in years, he had something he desperately needed: stability. He played 33 league games, scoring 9 goals and providing 1 assist. After years of bouncing around on loan, Scamacca finally got his first full season of top-flight football when he joined Genoa for the 2020-21 campaign. This was his chance to prove himself at the highest level, and he didn't waste it. Across all competitions, he found the back of the net 12 times and provided 2 assists in 29 appearances. His performances didn't just impress Genoa and Sassuolo, they caught the attention of the Italian national team. In September 2021, Scamacca earned his first senior call-up and made his debut for Italy in a World Cup qualifier against Lithuania. Meanwhile, back at Sassuolo, a managerial change was on the horizon. Roberto De Zebri was leaving for Shakhtar Donetsk, and his replacement, Alessio Dionisi, saw Scamacca as the perfect striker to lead the attack, flanked by the dynamic duo of Domenico Berardi and Giacomo Raspadori. Scamacca thrived in his first full season with Sassuolo, delivering 17 goals in 41 appearances across all competitions. He had arrived. He was no longer just a promising talent. He was a proven Serie A striker. Naturally, this attracted attention from bigger clubs, and in the summer of 2022, the offers started rolling in. On July 26, 2022, West Ham United won the race for his signature, securing the Italian forward on a 5-year contract with an option for a further year. The deal costed the Hammers £30.5 million, with an additional £5 million in potential add-ons. Sassuolo also smartly inserted a 10% sell-on clause, ensuring they'd benefit from any future transfer. It was a massive step up. The Premier League is one of the most demanding leagues in the world, and this was Scamacca's moment to shine on the biggest stage of his career. Because as we all know, things didn't go as planned. 8 goals in 27 matches, that's all Gianluca Scamacca managed in his 1 season at West Ham. 1 year. That's it. Just 1 year, and the whole thing was over. But why? Why did it all go wrong? Why did a player who started off so well suddenly become a misfit in David Moyes' system? Before we touch on what went wrong at West Ham, how about you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already? Done? Alright, let's talk about Scamacca's time in London. It took Scamacca a month after signing to register for his first goal for his new club, and it came in a Conference League qualifier. He would go on to add 2 more in the group stage, but then came the Premier League, and suddenly, it wasn't smooth sailing anymore. He scored back-to-back league goals in October, and you might have thought, okay, he's settling in now. But no, that was pretty much it for a while. A long dry spell followed, dragging into January. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, a knee injury struck. Out, done, sidelined till March. He made a brief return in the Carabao Cup, managed to sneak in another goal in the Conference League, and just when you thought he might get a second win, another knee injury in April. That was the final straw. Season over. And for some reason, West Ham decided that was it. No second chances. No attempt to make it work. Just a clean break. But why? Why did it go so wrong? Was it just bad luck, or was there something deeper? Something fundamental about the way West Ham handled him? Well, there are 3 big reasons. But first, let's talk about the most obvious one. West Ham had no idea how to use Scamacca. See, you take one look at him. He's tall and strong, with a classic number 9 build, and you assume he's a typical target man. A big guy you can just lump crosses to. But that's not who he is. Scamacca thrives when he's involved in build-up play. He's not just some big lump waiting in the box. He's got technique, he can link up, he can carry the ball. At Sassuolo, he had a 70% take-on success rate, 21 progressive carries, and 25 key passes in the 2021-22 season. That's not just the profile of a pure poacher. That's a striker who needs the ball at his feet, not just in the air. But did West Ham care? No. They saw his size, saw the word striker next to his name, and thought, perfect, just stick him up top and hoof it. That was their first mistake. Aside from on-field issues, there was also the personal one. From the very beginning, it felt like Scamacca's time at West Ham was doomed to fail. Think about it. He arrived unfit, barely had a preseason with the squad, and spent months living in a London hotel. Months. No proper home, no sense of belonging, just a temporary place to sleep. And if that wasn't bad enough, he didn't even feel comfortable speaking English. He had to rely on Angelo Ogbonna to translate for him, which, let's be real, isn't exactly ideal when you're trying to integrate into a new team. Then there was the £35.5 million price tag. That number weighed on him. You could see it on the pitch. He had joined a club that didn't play to his strengths, and yet they expected him to perform like a traditional number 9. The result was his dribbling success rate collapsing to 46.7% and his progressive carries and key passes dropping to just 13 each. And of course, when a big signing doesn't deliver, what happens? The whispers start. Some people said he didn't care enough. Others said he had an attitude problem. But was that really fair? Because here's the thing, Scamacca himself has since opened up about his mental health struggles during that time. The constant injuries, illness, and isolation. All of it took a toll. Both the club and player needed an escape. So West Ham had seen enough. They cut their losses, accepted Atalanta's €25.5 million offer, and just like that, Scamacca was back in Italy. A fresh start, a second chance. But at this point, it was obvious. Fitness and confidence issues were his kryptonite. Now, if there was one manager who had a reputation for getting the absolute best out of attackers, it was Gianpiero Gasperini. And Scamacca, at just 25 years old, seemed like the perfect fit for Gasperini's high-energy attacking style of football. And let's be real, it didn't start smoothly for Scamacca. He spent most of the summer recovering from that lingering knee injury, and when this season began, he still wasn't fully fit. But then, in just his third game back in Serie A, he made a statement. A stunning brace against Monza. Just like that, he reminded everyone what he was capable of. But of course, because it's Scamacca, the fitness issues came back again. He delivered a brilliant performance against Empoli in October, but then the same old injury. Out for 3 weeks in December, another setback. Another frustrating stop-start period in a career that was desperate for momentum. But if there was a single moment in his first season at Atalanta where Scamacca showed that he's still that guy, it was that night at Anfield. Atalanta rocked up to face Liverpool in the Europa League quarterfinals, and nobody really gave them a chance. Scamacca had other plans. He scored a stunning brace in a 3-0 demolition at Anfield. Atalanta found themselves in the final against Bayer Leverkusen, the unbeaten giants of Europe, Xabi Alonso's machine, the team that hadn't lost a single game all season. Nobody expected Atalanta to win, but we all know what happened next. Scamacca didn't just play, he made a difference. He provided an assist, helped tear apart Leverkusen's defense, and finally got to lift a major European trophy as an integral part of the team. It was a redemption arc in full flow. So what's the overlooked truth about Gianluca Scamacca? It's simple. He never really had a fair shot at stability. Injuries have constantly disrupted his rhythm, stopping him just as he starts to hit form. He's moved from Sassuolo to West Ham to Atalanta, never staying long enough to fully settle. And yet, despite all these setbacks, he's still only 25. There's still time. He still has the opportunity to develop fully, prove his doubters wrong, and finally find a team that understands how to use him properly. When he is fit, confident, and in the right setup, he becomes a formidable force. But here's the real question. Will he finally get the consistency he needs? Or is he destined to be another talent that never quite reaches his full potential? Let us know what you think in the comments. And before you go, don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Oh, and don't leave just yet. Stick around and click on the next video for another juicy football deep dive.